Good evening, everybody. My name is Berrevoet. I'm a freelance test consultant, and I think 14 months ago I was asked by PostNL to be the test lead of testing the PostNL stack of BFC. I have a background in testing depots. I think I tested 12 of them for PostNL in the past. I also tested a lot of the backend systems, and the last couple of years I mainly tested integration, typical middleware. And all these things are coming together in this project, so I immediately said yes. I think it's a very exciting project to do. So in January 2017 I started. I want to start this presentation with explaining how sorting works for PostNL in a nutshell. After that, I want to explain the applications which were involved from PostNL point of view at the BFC, testing the applications, and of course there is time for questions. How does sorting work in a nutshell? PostNL needs two things from a customer. One thing is the information that a parcel is coming to us, and the second thing, of course, is the parcel itself. These two things we also get from the systems of bol.com. After the packing process, the parcel will be labeled and information will be sent to PostNL. We call it the pre-announcement. The pre-announcement we are using in our systems to make a sorting decision. And in the pre-announcement, a few items are very important. Of course, the address, where does the parcel have to go? For us, it's not only that we know where the parcel has to go, but also because the item is sorted at the BFC, but after that the item is going to one of our 20 other depots where it's sorting into the region of the client. So we need to know to which depot this parcel has to go. So the address is one of the variables which we need to know how to sort the parcel. The second one is the product code. The product code says something about the parcel, because we know parcels for domestic use, Holland. We know parcels which go abroad. We have packages, which are parcels that fit into a Dutch letterbox. And of course we have the parcels of the external partners bol.com is using, like UPS, Parts Express and bpost. The last thing which we take into account how to sort a package is the weight and the size. If a parcel is too big, it can't fit into a letterbox, so it can't be a package. If a parcel is too heavy, it can't be a package. For your information, a parcel is a box which will be delivered by the chauffeur of PostNL parcels at your door. A package is a small parcel which fits into a letterbox and which is delivered by the postman. After we have the information, the parcel will come through the conveyor from bol.com to our sorter. We will detect it, we will scan it. There are two barcodes on it, a 1D barcode and as a backup a 2D barcode. And we take pictures of the parcel, we measure it, we weight it. We know how to sort it, it goes to a certain chute. And mainly at the BFC there are three loads. A load with parcels which go into the van of PostNL to be delivered. We have packages which are going to be delivered by the postman, by PostNL mail, and we have of course the external partners. Of course, things can go wrong when we don't know how to sort a a parcel, which is possible because there could be a non-valid address on the label. The label could not be read by us, etc. The things are going to the manual workstation. If we can fix it, we will fix it. If we can't fix it, we will put a sticker on it and it goes back to org.com. This is how sorting a little bit works in a nutshell. Of course, we of PostNL need applications to support this process. Again, it starts with the applications of org.com. A pre-announcement will be sent to our system, and the parcel itself will be on the sorting machine. The sorting machine doesn't exist only of the machine, it also has cameras, it has scanners, it has monitors, and it has a weighting system and a measurement system. All these things we need to make sure how to sort the parcel. Also, we have an application, it's called Parcel Match. When the sorter and the camera scans and reads the label, it will send the barcodes to this system, Parcel Match. At Parcel Match, the barcodes will be validated, and if they are valid, they will be sent to our system, SBS. SBS stands for Sorting Decision System, and this system has the intelligence. It's not the sorter that has the intelligence, this system has the intelligence. This system says to the sorter, this package should go to chute 100, this package should go to chute 200, this package I can't read, go to the manual workstation. We have a local one and a central one. Every depot of PostNL parcels, there are 20 of them, there is a local SBS. Also at the BFC, there is one central SBS, and there all the validations will be made, all the sorting decisions will be made, and they will be sent to SBS local. The Enterprise Service Bus, it's from TIPCO, it's a piece of middleware, and it connects more than 30 systems within the PostNL landscape. Also, it's responsible for all the messaging between SBS Central and SBS Local. There are two APIs also made by PostNL for the BFC. They were made by another team, by another department. They were in scope of BFC, but not in scope of my test. So I put them here, but I put them into brackets. Other systems, like I said, there are many SBS locals, 20 of them. All these systems also have to be informed with the pre-announcement of org.com. Also, systems from mail has to be informed, because we are also now processing for the first time the brackets of the packets which fits in the letterbox. And there are a lot of systems like track and trace, billing, distribution systems that also need to be informed with data of org.com. This landscape was my test scope. So I will start with the first one, the sorter. The sorter was completely new to us. We have, of course, sorters in the other depots, but this one is twice as big. The sorter in a normal depot has 52 chutes. The sorter at the BFC has 114 ones. So it's completely new to us. It can also process packages, which is new to us. We had to process new kinds of barcodes, because we are also processing for org.com packages from UPS, from bpost, from Parts Express, and they have very different labels, very different barcodes. We had to adjust that. And also new kind of chutes for the packages. These are going into a big chute, which is a kind of sack in a raw container. How does the testing work of the sorter? It's a specialized team who is doing that, Böhmer. They are responsible for building it, installing it, and also testing it. One of the things of the sorter is that it needs to be certified by an external party. So what they do is a lot of static testing in the beginning. Hundreds of requirements need to be fulfilled, and then you have to think about the power supply. There are requirements regarding the power supply. There are requirements regarding safety procedures, ergonomics in Dutch Arbo. There are requirements of spare parts that has to be available and to be in the depot if something is going wrong. So a lot of time they are just checking all these things, because in the end the sorter is only allowed to be used as it has a certification from an outside party. Also dynamic testing is being done. Of course, first thing what is being tested is, does the conveyor works, does the chutes work 114 times, does the cameras work, do the scanners work, all these kind of things are tested. That's more the happy flow test. Of course, there are a lot of non-happy flow, and then you have to think about parcels which are too big, and then the sorter has to stop. Parcels which are too heavy, then the sorter has to stop. If the room between the parcels is too small, the sorter sees at one parcel, it jams and it stops. All these kind of things has to be tested. Also the interface with SBS and parcel match has to be tested, because all the intelligence, all the logic is in those systems. One of the last things they had to test, it's called the speed test. This is a test to test the maximum capacity of the sorter. The aim of this test is to fill all the trays of the sorter with a package. Packages, they have all different kinds of colors, and after all these packages have been sorted, there should be in every chute just one color of packages, so we can easily see if the sorter did do the job right. The whole project for us was a project which began more or less in January, and we had a fixed date, the 18th of July, we had to be ready to go into production. You will also see that a lot of testing is done not sequentially but parallel. The sorter was tested in the period of April and May, and also certified, and in that period of time it was also available for me to do all kinds of testing. After that we have SBS. It's the sorter decision system. We have the local part and we have the central part. The local part we could reuse a lot of the existing SBS local, but we had to integrate new functionalities. We had a direct interface with bulb.com, which was completely new. We needed that interface because we had a very strict performance requirement, which I will explain later to you. We had new products we had to process. We had new types of barcodes. We had barcode prioritizing, because it could be that different barcodes are on one parcel. So then we had to decide which barcode is the valid one and which one I can neglect. And we had a new manual workstation, because there was extra functionality of bulb.com. The central part, also here, the core of the application could be reused. Also here, new products and new barcodes has to be able to be processed by the new functionalities, and the sorter has more chutes, which means that a lot of our maintenance functionality in SBS Central had to be adjusted. Parcel match was easy. There was no extra functionality, only functionality we removed because we didn't need it anymore. What did we do with the testing? The first block of functionality was delivered in March, and from that time on, every 3 weeks in a sprint we got new functionality. So we got in a rhythm of testing the new functionality, regression testing, testing the new functionality, regression testing. From the time of the end of April, the sorter was available, because in the beginning all the testing we did in Hoofddorp, just with simulators. From the end of April, we drove to Waalwijk and we did also testing over there. It was additional testing because with the simulators, a lot of things you can't test. We couldn't test the cameras, we couldn't test the sorting machine itself, we couldn't test the interfaces with SBS. We were able to do that in Waalwijk. Also, we could do additional testing. We could test with all kinds of parcels, parcels that were too big, too heavy, too small, parcels that had 60 different barcodes on it, and then see if the good ones were still recognized. We could test with parcels with no barcodes, parcels with only 1D, parcels with only 2D barcodes. Also, we did some plastic around parcels that you can see through it and still see if the camera can still read the parcels, those kinds of tests. And also, of course, we did interface testing, but that is a separate slide, which will come later. Maybe for you, how many people do you think were involved in these kinds of testing? You have any idea?
Wasn't.
Almost, 2. Me, myself, and I had somebody to help me, another tester. For the communication, the enterprise service bus also has to be tested. I did it next to the test that we just talked about, because the enterprise service bus is a spin in the web, as we say in Dutch. We are informing all the systems in the PostNL landscape. We had to build a new flow, we had to build new adapters for certain PostNL mail applications. We had to build new filters because we are also processing barcodes of external partners, and we don't want those data in our system. We don't want to have the data of UPS bpost in our system, so we had to build filters to be sure that those data is not coming into our network. And we had a very critical performance requirement, which I will discuss later. The testing also here, it was a lot of functional testing, a lot of interface testing with our applications of PostNL itself, a lot of regression testing. I used SOA-test for it. It was only the start that we were using SOA-test as a test tool. Unfortunately, in the project itself, I didn't have the time to put all my regression tests in SOA-test. Afterwards I did, and it was unfortunately, because nowadays it will only cost me 1.5 hours to regression test the ESP. At that time I had a small regression test, and what was left I had to do manually, which cost me a couple of days. Also here the execution was March, May. Our deadline was in July, so we were still on track. We had to do interface testing with Berrevoet. If you see in the former presentation of AMS and all the other applications, how big it is, there are only 2 interfaces in the whole landscape with PostNL. First one is the pre-announcement, the second one is the manifest. The pre-announcement is the one bol.com sends to PostNL with information about the parcel. The second one is a very small message PostNL sends back to bol.com saying the parcel has been sorted successfully or the parcel hasn't been sorted successfully. With that message, an order can be closed in BMS. How did we do the testing? In the beginning, we just exchanged the messages. The messages were based on XSD, and I already saw a few times that it was not good enough. We made adjustments till finally the XSD was good. We could use the pre-announcements from bol.com. I could test with it in my system. And after that, we decided, okay, we're going to do a connection test, just a ping test. When that one was correct, we did the technical and the functional tests, happy flow, non-happy flow. We did things like failover testing, etc., load testing, recovery testing, things like that. The execution of this was in March and April. We chose for it to do these kind of interface testing as soon as possible. So around May, all the big chunks of the landscapes were tested, so it was time for an end-to-end test. So what we did, we simulated the pre-announcements. We simulated in the beginning also the sorter, sorting all the parcels and informing the whole PostNL landscape. So I could see that messages were going to the billing, to the trace, to the distribution applications. Later on also we did the same test using the sorter in Waalwijk. The purpose of the end-to-end test was, of course, to validate the data flow throughout the whole PostNL landscape, and almost, I think, around 20-25 applications were involved. We did this in May, June. We still had 1 month till production, and 2 tests were still had to be done. The first one was a load test. We had one requirement which was very strict. Within 40 seconds after receiving a pre-announcement of PostNL, we should be able to make a sorting decision. The 40 seconds is coming from the point that the shortest way from the bol.com conveyor, where a package has been put on the conveyor to the sorter of PostNL, and the first shoot of PostNL, there is 40 seconds. So within that time, a sorting decision has to be made. Well, what I could do, of course, was to generate a lot of load, a lot of pre-announcements from bol.com and just process them in the system, but I thought, well, that's not really a realistic situation. So what I did, I made an operational profile. I looked at the busiest month of PostNL, which is December. I took one of the peaks in that month of messages which were processed by TIPCO and by SBS. I made an operational profile, and tested with those amounts. So I put 160 pre-announcements, almost 130 sorting messages, and almost more than 10,000 calls to an address server on the system. While this was processing, then I was generating a load of 40,000 pre-announcements of BFC. And the results were that the 40,000 were not processed in 1 hour, but half an hour with priority. 80% of these pre-announcements led to a sorting decision within 5 seconds, 99% in 10 seconds, and 100% in 15 seconds. At that time I knew, okay, the load, the performance of our system will be good. I have faith in it. Then we are coming to July, the month of July. And what I did, I picked 2 dates in July, and what we did there, we put the sorter and SPS local. We connected that to the ESP production environment, and we did a real production test. The execution was in July 2 times, and 2 times we had 50 parcels and 15 packages, which were sent to members of our project team. The transport was arranged. A big truck was coming to the BFC in Waalwijk, took our test packages, and they were processed in a nearby depot of PostNL, and all the project members got their parcels. We checked the billing, we checked the track and trace, we checked our systems, and everything went okay. So the result for me was I could have a positive test advice and I could write a report. There was one last test, and there I wasn't involved because it was the site acceptance test, the C trials, the Gordon orders, and the go live. As you saw in the first presentation, the site acceptance test goes from inbound, outbound to the sorter of PostNL. I gave advice, well, from IT point of view, the systems are ready. At that point, our team of staff operations took over. They are responsible for the operations within a depot, and they supported bol.com in testing those tests. My job was done. I went on vacation in August, came back at the end of August, and in the beginning of September, BFC was going live and in production. This was my presentation. Are there any questions?
What was your biggest lesson learned?
The biggest lesson learned, I think we learned it already, that we had to test the interfaces as soon as possible. But I think it was also one of the lessons in the first presentation. That was the biggest lesson.
And second thing about security testing, did you also do that part? Or?
Well, a lot of the PostNL landscape is existing and is already being secured. The systems in Waalwijk, also of PostNL, are in are in the same stack as your systems.
Thank you. Any more?
Hi, my name is Alex. You mentioned about your performance testing, and you mentioned that you estimate the quantity of parcels for some period of time. On your slides I saw load test. What do you mean under this testing?
Load
What
test.
do you estimate?
Well, what I learned, performance testing is more, let's say, load testing, stress testing. They are all kinds of test types of performance testing. We didn't do stress testing, but we did load testing, which is a sub-form of performance testing. I just wanted to be, strict by the rule. We did load testing. Is that an answer? Yeah. Okay.
Any more questions? Last one.
Yes, I do have one question. Thank you. You said in somewhere in your presentation that there was a moment where you removed functionality. I believe it was from the parcel match.
Yeah, correctly.
Why did you do that?
The thing is that it has to do with the 40 seconds. In a normal depot of PostNL, we are also checking the barcodes, and if we can't read the label, a picture is going to Manila, and people are checking it, and just if they can read it, they are very quickly typing the address and sending it to PostNL. But because of the 40 seconds, that solution would take too much time. So that's why we have a solution with 1D and as a backup a 2D barcode.
So that backup is actually a solution instead of using India as a backup.
Yeah, because it could take too much time. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Danny.
Okay, thank you.